The reality is this is not a short-term problem. We're dealing with it as a crisis, but we have to deal with the underlying problems.
I see people, they struggle to reach out to people, even friends or family, because of the fact that they do fear being stigmatized or judged by their family or friends or anybody in society for having this, what's seen as a weakness.
There isn't a family that has not had some sort of addiction issue in the family, and with the stigma and discrimination, people tend to they don't necessarily know where to go for help, and sometimes people hide it, and it just it grows.
My firefighters have responded to calls to deal with the street culture overdoses. They've also realized it's not just street culture that it affects. I can think in particular of a couple of calls where they come back and they were a little surprised at the people who had overdosed.
The one thing I've learned through this opioid crisis is that every family is affected in some way or another, even families you wouldn't presume.
I think we stigmatize certain kinds of addiction, but we aren't recognizing the fact that, addiction is kind of all over in our society, all different types of addiction.
For me, I know that when my own brother died of a opioid-related death, I remember the way that my family wasn't able to grieve his death with as much comfort from their community because of the stigma and embarrassment that happens around deaths like that.
I see it even to the point of how eulogies are written, because I read them more now, and I see patients who have died, and there's a trend in that people who die from opioid overdose, it is not stated.
It's just such a shame, because every person who dies is worthy of grief.
If you think about being a member of a community that has lost so many people, and your grief is compounding and compounding when you lose all your friends.
I've worked for Anchors for 15 years, and in the last few years, I have never seen this much struggle. It really is reminiscent in a lot of ways of the early days of HIV and AIDS.
This is happening on a much grander scale than that, where groups of people are just constantly going to funerals.
It's going to take all of us, it takes a community sort of approach to this, and we want to do our part, we want to do our part well, but part of that is having the compassion to understand who this is impacting, directly and indirectly.
Thank you.